Something I forgot to mention in the previous video that even though that I'm unable to do any in-person cons and I'm not intending to do any virtual cons, I still have my fursuits. I have Sapphire, got Spike. I still have Loki, who I haven't used in a while. So if you want to me to bring anything, any of them up for anything casual, I'll be more than happy to do that. So we'll figure out what we'll do. But first off, this is going to be all about Disney. I got two different things to talk about. The first one, everyone pretty much already knows. The park's reopening. Now, there are, I think, two of the parks are back open. I think Tokyo and I have to see if Paris is also one of them. I'm sure that's a Hong Kong and Shanghai are not one of them. They were planning to reopen Disneyland in Anaheim. That has been postponed, but now they are opening Walt Disney World in Florida. So here's what I can share with you about that. This is coming directly from the Walt Disney World website. All four Walt Disney World theme parks are now open. Park attendance is managed by the Disney Park Pass reservation system, now available to guests with a valid admission. To enter a park, both a park reservation and valid admission to the same park and the same date are required for guests aged 3 and up. Additionally, select Walt Disney World hotel resorts, including deluxe villa resorts, are open to guests. Disney Springs is already reopened. Upon reopening, theme parks, Disney hotels, restaurants, and other offerings may be modified, limited in capacity, and subject to availability or closure. It says we have taken enhanced health and safety measures. Follow all the posted instructions while visiting Disney World Resort. An inherent risk of exposure to COVID-19 exists in any public place where people are present. And I do know that some of the things that they have done is that they've put in some additional cleaning procedures, that they've made cleaning supplies available to guests. Physical distancing, they have reduced contact by way of using electronic devices. And upon entering, they're requiring face coverings, temperature screenings, and as mentioned earlier, park reservations. And they are operating at reduced capacity to help with social distancing. Now, me being a former cast member with the college program twice, if you want my advice is simple. Don't go. I know it's not the advice you want to hear, but you have to look at the big picture. And I'm not pinning this on Disney themselves. They are really trying to do what they can to reduce the risk. But the fact is that Florida is a hot spot for COVID-19 at this time. The latest numbers that I got, Florida has a total of 315,775 cases as of this recording. New cases went up by almost 14,000. Another 156 deaths, bringing their total to 4,677. With number of active cases, again with the numbers that I am given, this likely needs an update, but the number I have for active cases is 276,879. And the trends have been going up drastically, and especially in the Miami area. So really, it's just way too risky to go over there right now. And even though some of the counties have put mandates in place, Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, he's not been doing his job. He is just lackadaisical. So that's pretty much my advice. Until things get settled, I would advise not going for now. I do hope that if they turn things around, that it'll be down hopefully by the winter. Don't hold it on me. I'm not an epidemiologist, but I am just reading it based on all the procedures that I've been hearing about, and plus I've been keeping an eye on the trends. So, yeah, like I said, it's just too risky at this time. Now, the other story is going to hit a few nerves. It's just to give you a heads up. But when I read this headline, it was a curveball at me. And I will explain. But this has something to do with a certain movie and a certain Disney, and a former Disney animator, mind you. But yeah, just giving you a heads up. And I'm not going to go into discussion about the movie itself, since it's too touchy of a subject for me. But here is the article that I found. Black Disney animator pushes for Song of the South release. Now this is actually nothing new with this particular former animator, because he has tried to push for this release before. And I'm going to go through this article as he'll explain himself. These are going to be his words. But first I need to tell you who it is. It is Floyd Norman. Now, that name really struck me. The reason why I decided to bring this article up was because that Floyd Norman was actually a guest of honor at Anthrocon 2008. That is the very first Anthrocon that I ever went to. But yes, so everybody knows Song of the South, a very controversial movie that was made in 1946. It never got an official release because it was so controversial, having to deal with slavery. He left the company after Disney's death in 1966 and made his own animation studio, Visionette Films, alongside fellow black artist Leo Sullivan. They created educational films about black history, as well as the popular television series Fat Albert. He later contributed to Disney and Pixar films like Hunchback of Notre Dame and Toy Story 2. So, about Song of the South, and I'm going to be careful here on scrolling down, because there's a sensitive image on this article, and I'm not taking any chances. All I will say is that it's a scene from the film, and the one that's generated the most animosity. So, just to play on the safe side, I'm not going to show it. But like I said, he has pushed for the release of this movie several times before. And this is his words. Quote, "I have argued with Disney executives and Disney attorneys about Song of the South. I called them out on it. They're just whipping out. I don't think I've been a real thorn in Disney's side. It's just that whenever there was time to speak up for the film, I became sort of the film's advocate because I knew enough about it, maybe more so than most." And I almost scrolled down. He even revealed that the book's publishers, of which he's referring to the Brer Rabbit books, have tried to use his influence to convince Disney to license Brer animal books. Though Norman is not an employee anymore, his status as a Disney legend who worked with Walt himself still grants him sway at the company. And Norman even defended the controversial dialect used in Song of the South. We've written again quoting him, "We've written stories at Disney that have taken place in the South where we've given white characters a Southern accent because that's the accent they would have. That's the way they talk. We're not mocking them. We're just trying to keep our story as authentic as possible." And I'm going to switch the camera back to me so you don't catch that image. And I'll continue reading this. As the interview continued, Norman revealed that that he has a framed film still of the infamous Tar Baby scene, a moment so controversial. And by the way, that is the image that they have up there. That just like I said, just to play on the safe side, I'm not going to show it. Has been removed from all television releases of the film. It still remains in a quick scene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is something that I did not know about, even though that I've only seen the film once. Yeah, probably. Well, it's because that I watched the television version and they probably edited that out. Norman commented that the baby was, quote, was not an intentional thing that Tar represents black people, but once again, here's a storytelling device that people read way too much into. Floyd then reflects on why his experience as an African American growing up in the United States may differ from other black people. Now, I'm going to pause on that article for a minute because I want to explain what he's talking about here, because I did manage to find a copy of it online, and I took a look at that particular scene. What he is referring to is the story that he's talking about. What that story is about is trying to teach about brain over brawn. In the story, Brer Rabbit sees the Tar Baby, and he says hello to him, which he does not get a response. So what he ends up doing is punching it, and it ends up getting him entrapped for Brer Fox and Brer Bear. So that's pretty much what the story was trying to say. And again, I'm just adding that as context as to what Floyd Norman is talking about. So now I'm going to continue with the article here. He said he can understand why African Americans would maybe feel offended by that motion picture, and so I've tried to come over to their side. He continued, my wife often says I live in a bubble. Keep in mind, I'm not a kid who had a rough and tragic life. I was not the victim of racism. I had almost an idyllic life growing up in Santa Barbara, California. I have to be reminded that my perspective is probably not the perspective of most black Americans. So let me scroll down, and it's now safe for me to put it back to the article. When asked about the lack of diversity in Disney's animation department at the time, Norman gave only a brief response: because they didn't show up, no black people got hired. However, Norman isn't unaware of the systemic racism endured by the black community, and even commented that his father, a man from Mississippi, had a, quote, darn good reason to be terrified of policemen. Alongside his animation partner, Leo Sullivan, Norman even filmed the 1965 Watts riots, witnessing rocks being thrown at the police force, saying, by the time I got to be older, I understood the social issues we were dealing with here in America. It's just that I didn't have to deal with those issues when I was growing up. So if you want to read the rest of the story there, the link up there, it's from InsideTheMagic.net, which is a website that's dedicated to Disney stuff. But yeah, now of course I have heard the name of Floyd Norman. I didn't know that he was such a defender of a Song of the South. But like I said, I'm not going to discuss the film. I have only mentioned the one just for context. But I mean, seeing a black animator try to get Song of the South released, that's something you don't ever hear. Now there is one other part of this article that I do need to point out. He says His answer is the same as most of those who petitioned for the movie's release. He wants the film to see a public release, but with added cultural sensitivity warnings. He insists that Walt had only the best intentions in making the film. Norman's final quote perhaps epitomizes the motivation behind Disney's creation of Song of the South at a time where the American Civil War may have seemed like ancient history to him, particularly as the movie released just after the end of World War II. Walt Disney was an overly optimistic man. He looked for the positive in everything, whether it was a European folktale or an American story about the post-Civil War South, and a lot of people hated that about him. Though Norman believes there was no malice behind Song of the South, it remains unlikely that we'll ever see the movie released in the United States again, whether in theaters or home video or streaming. And that's a question I want to pose to you guys. Do you think Song of the South, with some cultural sensitivity warnings, be available for the public to view? Like I said, in the past, I have managed to find it and take a look at it. And like I said, I'm not going to discuss it, the film itself, because like I said, it's too sensitive for someone like me to talk about. As it's very likely that I'll probably unintentionally offend someone if I even attempted to review this movie. But like I said, let me know if you think it should get a release or it should stay inside the Disney vault. If you are going to discuss it in the comments, do please keep it respectful. I know that even today, this is a very sensitive topic, and I want to have a thoughtful discussion with everybody. So that's pretty much all I have to cover here. I'll see you guys later.